welcome back to my channel. I'm Dee of Dee's Bookish Musings, where I'm sharing my love for reading at my own pace. So I am introducing the vlog. I am going to be reading one of the authors that I'm spotlighting for this year, which is Miss Bernice L. McFadden. I read her memoir, Firstborn Girls, and absolutely loved it, okay? And so I'm continuing on with her book, starting with well, not her first novel, but a novel, which is this book right here, the Book of Harlan. And so I'm going to be reading this over how many days it takes me to read. Okay, I'm doing a lot this month, so I just wanted to come and introduce the reading vlog. So that said, roll the footage. So I'm back to give an update on the Book of Harlan. When I came back from the gym last night, I did read for about an hour, and I am about 63 pages in. I went into this blind knowing nothing really about the book. But then last night, I read the back of the book, just like the top blurb. It says, during World War II, two American jazz musicians are captured by the Nazis in Paris. I never knew that about the book. So far, this is following a young girl named Emma. We meet her maybe as a teenager, and her best friend. Her best friend is named Lucille. And they're close. They grow up together. She's the daughter of a pastor, and she's just being a typical teenager, right? Balancing these two personas, I would say, being the daughter of a pastor and being, you know, a teenager and also a free spirit, along with her best friend. They're both free-spirited people. We see her falling in love for the first time, and out of that, we meet Harlan. He's still a child in the part that I have read, and so I'm just wondering what's going to happen to little Harlan moving forward, because a lot of things have happened in the 63 pages that I have read, but so far I'm loving the book. It is quick, is a quick read, but you know how I am. I'm gonna try not to drag this book out. I know I can get through this book because the chapters are like super short, like a page and a half, some of them, and they're broken up into parts. So the first part, we meet Emma when she's like a teenager. The second part, she's moving into adulthood. Some things in life has happened to her that she's got to deal with. She's trying to make her way, falling down, getting back up, falling down. And then the third chapter, you know, it seems like things are going to be looking up for her because some things has happened, some tragic things has happened, but out of that tragic has kind of uplifted them in a way. And I think that's where I am right now in part 3. I would consider this like literary fiction, but it's not like, the prose is very simple in a good way. It's not complicated. It's just very easy to digest, and I absolutely love books like that. Today is, well, the sun was out. Now it looks like it's overcast again. But the last time I peeked out, it was the sun was out, and I was planning on going on a walk outside. I have not walked outside in a long time, and I think I'm just going to walk. Hopefully the weather cooperates with me. Happy Tuesday. I'm sleeping in, okay? I'm sleeping in. And so I'm coming to give a update on the book I am reading, the Book of Harlan by Bernice L. McFadden. And so I'm on page 124. I have just made it to part 4. I did mention that this book is broken up in several parts. I like that about the book because in the different parts, we're following different chapters of the characters' lives. I told you about part 1, 2, and 3. Excuse me, frog in my voice. 3, which was following Emma, Harlan. So Harlan is Emma's son. So remember when I said some things happened to Emma? Well, Harlan happened to Emma, okay? And we are following part 3, Harlan, Emma, and Emma's husband, or Harlan's dad. they have moved to Harlem. In part 3, I think the title is Harlem. Okay, so Harlem, the borough in New York, not Harlan. Okay? So don't get that mixed up. So we're following them. They have moved to Harlem. And this part is focusing mostly on the dynamics of Emma's husband, who is Harlan's dad, and Harlan in New York City, because Harlan, this is a new life for him, right? He has moved from the country. Now he is in Harlem with his parents, experiencing new things, a new chapter. And so we just follow them as they get to know Harlan, and he gets to know them as parents, and also living in New York, Harlem, as a black family. And so we focus a lot on Harlan at this point. It's sort of like reading like a coming of age story for him now. In the first part of the book, it was more coming of age for Emma. Emma is grown now. Now we're following Harlan in his coming of age story, because he's really in a new chapter of his life, because he was raised by his grandmother, and abruptly he's now living with his parents now. So that is something new that he's trying to get adjusted to. And we're just following the daily life of him as a little boy growing up. And I would say that part 3, we really see him growing up, right? Growing up. I think while the parents, Emma and Harlan's dad, are trying to get to know Harlan, I'm getting it mixed up myself. Harlan, they're also, because they weren't there for him the first part of his life, they're kind of letting things go or spoiling him a little bit. And he ends up, to me, growing up a little bit too fast. So his life has really taken off now. Harlan, it does say he eventually becomes a professional musician. And we do see that in part 3. And that is where we see him growing up a little bit too fast, but maybe it's a normal part of life, right? Like when I think about my childhood, like I guess I could say the same thing, that I grew up kind of fast too, just be honest. And so we see that, he's growing up in front of our eyes. And Emma is realizing that too. And I would say he's getting a little out of pocket, out of hand, a little bit smelling himself too much. And so that is part 3. Okay. We see him also becoming a little musician. He plays what does he play? I don't remember. Just made it to part 4. And part 4 has kind of taken a turn. Now we're following a whole different like family. We're following a Barbadian couple named Ethel and Aubrey. Aubrey is the dad. They have 2 girls named Gwen, and I forgot the other girl's name. Irene. We're following them. The mother and the 2 daughters have just moved from Barbados to America, New York, and they're getting settled. So we kind of follow them as a couple. We follow a little bit about Ethel as she's getting accustomed to New York way of life, like being in a new world, having to assimilate and get used to, being in America. And the girl that we're following is Gwen. We're now kind of like following her as a character too, kind of her coming of age story. Her life is going to intersect with Harlan's life. If you watch my author spotlight on Bernice L. McFadden, when I read her memoir, I kind of stated that I would be able to see her like family in her novels. She's got roots in Barbados, so she's got Barbadian family. And I kind of knew that going into her novels that I would see her family in her books. And I can definitely see that that is what's happening, or she's taking stories from like her family and has put it into this book, because Ethel and Aubrey, they're Barbadian. Ethel, she used to live in Barbados, and she's coming over to America to be with her husband. She's got 2 kids. So I'm definitely seeing how Bernice L. McFadden's life is, is written in her books and her stories. And so I know I'm going to enjoy it, because I loved her memoir so bad. All right, y'all, so I'm taking a break from reading. I have made it to chapter 40. My goal by the end of today is to read up to chapter 51 in the book of Harlan. I'm really enjoying the book so far. So I'm doing a little bit of wedding planning. And so I'm just sitting down to do a little calculating of the budget. And my dress is right there. Got a good deal for it. And now I need to find a wedding planner. So I'm back with an update. Yes, I am back in nature, y'all. We have made it to spring. Thank the Lord, the weather is finally breaking. Okay, I probably spoke too soon because tomorrow it'll be 10 degrees again. But anyway, we're out here walking again. And so I'm back for an update really quick on the book of Harlan, y'all. So a lot of things has happened in this book. I am probably on page like 234 or something like that. The book is a little over 300 pages. I don't know where I left off, but the part that I'm reading now, Harlan is an adult. He's like probably in his early 20s. He has grown up before, look, my eyes in this short book, right, so far. He is a professional musician. That is said on the back of the book. And he has had an opportunity to go to Paris to perform for Parisians, right? Because apparently everybody loves black music, okay? And so that was no different in the 40s. And something happens, and right now, they've been captured, okay? They've been captured by Nazis, okay? That is on the back of the book as well. I'm not spoiling anything. Now, he has also, before he got this opportunity to go to Paris, he met a friend. His friend is named Lizard. So Lizard has also been captured. So I'm back to give you an update on the book of Harlan by Bernice L. McFadden. So y'all, I'm still reading this book. I'm reading this book because I'm doing so much this month in terms of reading. But we're having great weather out here, if you couldn't tell. I'm enjoying it. Anyway, so I'm reading this book still, and I don't know what part I'm in now, like 5, 6, 7, something like that. I am almost finished. Before I got to the part that I'm in now, I was thinking in my head what I was gonna rate the book. You know, I didn't feel like it was quite a 5 at the time, even though it's been good. I've been enjoying the storytelling, just amazing writing. But I didn't feel like it was a 5 until like part 5, when I think it started in part 5. I could be mistaken. When Harlan and Lizard were captured by the Nazis and sent to a concentration camp, and all of the things that went on there. Now, I never knew, like in history, I am going to do some research, and I'll, when I do my little wrap up thing, I'll tell you what I found. I never knew there were black people that were captured and sent to concentration camps. Did not know. I did not know at all. But there Harlan was. And I think there were some others too, based on the story. Some terrible things happened, as you can imagine, at this concentration camp. And there's one event that happens that just shook me to my core, because let's just say Bernice, I like the way she writes, because even though she may not go into details about a character right then, later on, like in the story, after maybe the character has been through some things, we've seen the character with some other main characters, she'll go back and tell that character's story, right? Where, things are going to happen to that particular character. She goes back, like she does a flashback or something like that, and talks about the character's life. So we learned a little bit about this particular character. He's not a main character, but we learned a little bit about his background, his history. I love the way she told that story, told his story. It was definitely different, but nothing new, because I've heard of people doing that. I know I'm being vague, very vague. If you know, you know.
Sorry, I'm having trouble understanding you.
I think this book is going to be a 5. I wasn't quite sure. I was landing on a 4.5, but then after I read this part, the trajectory of Harlan's life. He was doing some unsavory things, I would say. But also he was being a young adult too, making mistakes, right, along the way, like we all have. And I guess, having that attitude that nothing could happen to him, it's just, reinforcing that you could be good one minute and the next minute your life could be totally going a different direction. Yeah, I'm gonna go for this walk because it's beautiful outside. Okay, we're back at it. And yeah, so I'll see you hopefully when I finish this book. Okay, y'all, so I'm back because I have finished the book of Harlan by Bernice L. McFadden. And so my final thoughts are, I absolutely love the book, as I have been saying throughout this video. This book is so encompassing of life and where life can take you. You can literally start off innocent and be shaped by your experiences. And we saw that happen to Harlan. We literally, I keep saying we, like I read this with someone, but I literally grew up with him or watched him grow up before my eyes as a boy into a adolescence, into adulthood, and all of the things that come with that life itself. So he was literally shaped by the things that happened to him. He was captured, taken by Nazis, and we saw some really tragic things that happened from that, right, that he had to deal with long after that was over, and how that pretty much shaped his life. Now, the ending, it was perfect. It was open-ended, I would say. I'm not someone who has to have a perfectly wrapped up ending. In some circumstances, yes. But in this book, I felt like it was perfect because it allowed me to hope that Harlan can move on from the torture that he had been through in his life, especially his adulthood. And so this book was absolutely so enjoyable to read. I love the writing style. It was very fast paced. Even though I kind of dragged it out, that's just how, I tend to do things. And this month was kind of hectic for me anyway. It was beautifully written. It is definitely reflective of Black life, not only in the South, but also up north in Harlem. And how as we go through life, we have to transition sometimes. And we saw that in all the characters that Bernice introduced in this book. Now, I would say that I was headed to a 5-star, but when I got to the ending and realized that one aspect of the storyline or some characters that were introduced to this book were never brought up, or that wasn't wrapped up or even talked about, I really wanted to see that. So it didn't quite get a 5-star for me. I felt like if that was concluded, I think I would have given this a 5-star, but it still got a 4.25 to 4.5 star for me. Love my time with this book. Would I recommend it? Yes, I would. Just know that this is, it's a funny book too. It's got some humor in it. If you're Black, you're going to be able to relate to this book, especially if you live in the South or even up north, right? It's very reminiscent of old school writers like J. California Cooper. So those are my thoughts about the book of Harlan. It definitely was a book, and this is the perfect name for this book, the book of Harlan, because Harlan's life was definitely a book. That's the book of Harlan. And so I did get a copy of Judge Stone. I am almost finished with that book. I think I have 3 hours of listening because I started this listening. I want to read some of this book with my eyes just to see if I still get that feeling that I'm getting while I'm listening to the book. I don't doubt that I will, because this book is amazing. So I will come back one last time to do an update because I'll be finished by then with this. Hey y'all, so I am back with another book, and that is Judge Stone. So I'm doing this at the last minute. I hadn't anticipated doing this, but this book is so good, y'all. I want to talk about it. Yeah, so right now I'm getting my 10,000 steps in. We're back in nature, enjoying this beautiful weather that we're having. So I'm going to get a ways down the road, and then I'm going to tell you guys all about this book. So it's almost like you are sitting in Viola Davis's backyard, because this book takes place in the South. I want to say Alabama, okay? So in the deep South. It's almost like you are sitting in her backyard having tea with her, and she is telling you all about what's going on, right, in her world, her legal world. So let me just back up, okay, because I did say I was 34% into this book. This is about Mary. Mary is a judge. She is I don't know what type of judge she is, but she's a judge. Also, not only is she a judge, she also lives on a farm where her and her sisters, I'm not sure if she has any brothers, but her and her sisters inherited farming land from their parents, and they are living on the farm, and they're taking care of animals and things like that. So you also see her doing that. So we are getting two sides of her life, her family life, farming world, plus her legal life. Judge Mary Stone is in this small Alabama town, presiding over the citizens, right, where, you know, most of the citizens she knows, especially the black citizens, she knows, went to high school with them. So some of them work at the local, let's say, grocery store, post office, clerk of court, things like that, right? Everybody knows who she is. Black woman in a small southern town, everybody knows who she is. Yeah, so one day she gets this monumental case that involves, I want to say, another black figure in the town as well. Now, the book does not say it on the back of the book, so I'm not going to go into details about that, but it involves another black woman with who's in a certain profession, who does something that is definitely going to be challenging. Let's put it that way. It's going to be challenging to get her off, right? Because this book is reading very contemporary. I don't want to say that it's a historical fiction, because it's reading very contemporary in that the case in which she's going to be presiding over, it involves a recent, in real life court ruling, without getting into too many details. So it reads very contemporary. And so it's going to be hard for Judge Stone to, people want to say, be fair, right? Because this lady is black, right? The other lady who is charged with this crime, and Miss Mary, or Judge Mary Stone, is also a black woman too. They don't want her on the case. They don't want the town to have anything to do with the case, right? But being who Judge Stone is, she's not going to back down from anything that's challenging, right? Because it's nothing that she is legally preventing her from presiding over the case. Not technically, right? They want her to, what's that word, that legal word? I think recuse, something like that. Dismiss herself from the case, because they don't think that she is the right person to try the case, that it should go to a different town, right, to be tried. And so things start to happen after she says no. And I know that's vague. I know that's really vague. But if you've seen How to Get Away with Murder, if you've seen or even read her memoir, the book is filled with tension. She is acting her butt off in that narration, okay? Even though I'm listening to it, it's almost like I'm watching a movie, right? A whole production. So I am 34% into this book, and I cannot wait to get to the ending. Well, yeah, I can, because it's so good. I can wait because I'm enjoying all parts of the book. The book in no way have been slow paced. It's definitely fast paced. Action everywhere in the book, okay, at every scene, even when it does not involve her in her courtroom, right? Of course, there's going to be action there too, but also in her home life, when we see her with her sisters on the farm and things like that, interacting with the community, her family and friends and stuff like that. It's very fast paced, it's very interesting and very engaging. So yeah, Y'all, it's so good to be back outside walking. Anyway, so I'm going to continue to listen to the book, and I will get back with you. I'm not going to drag this on because I'm coming in at the middle, pretty much the middle part of the book, 34% in. So I'm probably going to do maybe 2 more updates, and then I'm going to be finishing the book. I may finish it tomorrow because I'm going to have time to finish this book tomorrow. So I might come back to you tomorrow and tell you, hey, I finished the book. But yeah, I just wanted to put this in because it's so good. Not enough people have been talking about this book. I don't know why. Maybe because James Patterson's name is on it and not just Viola Davis. But if you've been, and you know, I've been thinking about this. The reason why, not that Viola can't stand on her own, because she most certainly can, okay? But she's new at this, like, writing, right? To have somebody like James Patterson, okay, if you get my drift, to write with her, that is going to make it more appealing. I hate to say that, but that's just how it is. That is just how society is, y'all. Even like with regular authors of color, it's hard to get their work sold or out there like that because of this. It's not marketable. It's not going to be consumed by the majority, right? And that is why she probably had to go in on this book with James Patterson. James Patterson is probably tagged on to this book, in my opinion. I don't know. And she probably wrote the whole thing. I could see her writing the whole book. But because of what I just said, she had to have somebody who is well established, who is to go in with her so the book will be a success. And that is how it is. That's just how it is. So I just finished this book this morning, Viola Davis, Judge Stone. I read the last, I would say 20% of this book physically with my eyes. And y'all, it was amazing. Above a 5-star. I absolutely agree with Tracy, what she had to say about this book. This book was so amazing. I love the role that Viola played. And I want to say that it actually matches like the roles that she plays in movies. Like in the book, her character was, you know, strong Black woman, right? Holding it up, holding it down, having to work twice as hard to get ahead, right? And I also like the fact that Viola, in this book, she did kind of like mention that she was tired, right? The character was tired of playing that role, right? We as Black women should not have to work twice as hard. We should not have to carry the world on our shoulders, but we just have. That's just how it is. But the book was amazing. I love the ending. The ending was so satisfying. Yeah, I expecting it? I really wasn't expecting it because of what had happened. But then after that happened, boom, like, wow, like, yes, I was rooting for her. Now, I do want to warn that this does have some triggers. Look up your trigger for this book. I don't think it mentions it on the back of the book, so I will not. Just be warned that this book is about a moral dilemma, right? Something that's heavy, right? That a lot of people have feelings about. So just go into it knowing that, but it's so explosive. It's gonna capture you. It's gonna keep you turning the pages. And I absolutely love this book, y'all. That's all I have to say. That is the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. Leave down below if you think you will read this. If you decide to read the book of Harlan or this book, let me know and what you thought about it. I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care and be blessed.